The default bootloader which gets installed with Ubuntu or Ubuntu Studio is Grub, and as you see here, it's very ugly, and but it works fine, but it's not like, doesn't look very nice, and I don't know how to configure a Windows 7 entry either, and so I'll show you how to install rEFInd, another bootloader which I know how to configure. And in this bootloader, here you see some pictures of it, you'll get a graphical boot menu and many options, and it's very easy to configure, and I hope you'll enjoy it. In order to install rEFInd, we'll just open the terminal first and type some commands inside there. For that, we go in the upper left corner, and then we select terminal here. If you have Ubuntu, you just type terminal into the search, which you get in the upper right corner as well. Then you get this terminal, and then we need to type sudo apt minus add minus repository ppa colon Rod Smith / rEFInd. With this, we'll add the software repository to our system, and then it prompts for your password, so you just type in your password, and then it asks you to press enter if you really want to install that bootloader, and you just press yes. And then we need to update our software sources. For that, we type sudo apt minus get update, and then it'll find out that it now can install rEFInd. Then we'll install rEFInd in the next step. And now we can just install rEFInd by typing sudo apt minus get install rEFInd. And now it gets installed, and basically we're done now, because rEFInd is configuring automatically, and we could if we had restarted now, we would already see rEFInd, but it's not configured well, because it won't look nice, and we would not have an entry for Windows 7. And the other entries, we would have like 5 entries for Ubuntu and 1 for Windows 8, and it would not be good. So now we'll just configure rEFInd in order to make this better, and in order to make Windows 7 bootable as well, which we should do in the beginning. So for that, we type sudo thunar. That's what we need to type in Ubuntu Studio, as this is XFCE. With this command, we'll open the root file manager. But if you have Ubuntu, you just type nautilus, and then you have Nautilus, and that's the Ubuntu file manager. That's it's the GNOME file manager, to say it a little bit better. But as this is XFCE Ubuntu Studio, we need to type thunar. Then the root file manager comes up, and we just go to File System up here. Then we go to Boot, and we go to Grub, and select grub.cfg. Then we go back to the file manager, and then we go back here, and we go to EFI, and now here we see all the bootloaders which we have installed now. That's the folder containing the Microsoft bootloaders. This one contains some tools. That's my OpenSUSE bootloader. I've installed OpenSUSE, but you'll not have that folder, but that's no problem. That's rEFInd, which we just installed, and inside here we find the Ubuntu or Ubuntu Studio bootloader. And now let's have a look inside the Microsoft folder, because that's interesting. Normally we just have the boot folder inside here, and that's containing the Windows 8 bootloader. So if this one gets executed, Windows 8 boots. But we have copied all the information from the Windows 8 partition to that folder here in order to configure our Windows 7 bootloader. So this one contains almost exactly the same files. It's just configured a little bit different so that it boots Windows 7 instead of Windows 8. And so we have these two separate bootloaders, and if anything should go wrong about this installation, your Windows 8 bootloader is untouched, nothing has happened to him, and you can just restore it and Windows 8 will boot again without any issues. And then we go back and we go inside the rEFInd folder, because now we want to configure rEFInd as a bootloader. And we need to open refind.conf as well. And then we move this over to the next screen. And then we go back. And then we see inside the rEFInd folder, we see this icons folder here. And this folder contains all the icons for the operating systems. But the problem is that we don't have an icon for Windows 8. There's a nice one for Windows 7 here, but there's no one for Windows 8. And we are not going to use the Windows 7 icon as it's as it's not correct for Windows 8. And for Ubuntu Studio, we don't have a good logo as well. That's the Ubuntu logo, but as we see here, Ubuntu looks a little bit different. So we should create a nice looking logo for that as well. In order to create these logos, we go to the third screen. Then we go up here and open the web browser. You can just use Firefox. Here in the web browser, you just type Windows 8 logo. And then we go to pictures for Windows 8. And Windows 8 logo. And then I think the first one here is looking very good. Or we can also take this one. Yeah, let's take this logo. You can also take another one. The basic steps will be the same. And then we go to original size. Make it as big as possible. And then we make a right click on it and say copy graphics. Then we go to the last screen. That's something I really like about Linux, because you always have many desktops and you can just switch between them and you don't need to close the applications. And that's pretty nice, I think. Okay, then we go in this upper right corner here again, and we go to graphic design and select GIMP. In ordinary Ubuntu, GIMP will not be pre-installed like this, so you'll not find it if you just search up there. And in order to get it, you just need to go to the Ubuntu Software Center here and type in GIMP, and I think it's very easy to install it because it's in the default software sources of Ubuntu. And now we are inside GIMP, and then we just press Ctrl and V in order to paste the Windows 8 logo. And then we choose this tool, and we just click somewhere where we have these squares. These squares mean transparency, and all the background of this picture is transparent. So we just click there, and then we press Ctrl I in order to turn around what is selected, because we just selected the background, and now we have just selected everything which is not background but foreground. And as we just want to have this part of the picture, we go to the rectangular selection, and then we press Ctrl again, and then we draw a square around this Windows 8 font or caption. And then we just have these squares here selected. Then we press Ctrl C, and then we go to Edit and Insert as New Picture. And now we see that we just have this part which we just have selected, and now we'll go to Picture here and take this third entry size. It should be something about size. So here we'll change the dimensions of the picture. And yeah, take about 10% more than we have here now. So we take 850 and 850. Then we click center here. Now you see that we get margins around the picture, and that's important because then it looks better inside the bootloader. And then we say change size, and now we see these margins which we just have created, and they make the whole image look better inside the bootloader later. Then the next thing we do is we go to this. I don't know what it is in English because my GIMP is not English. Then we make it to the size of the picture as well. And now we saw that these black and yellow square around here just move to the edges of the whole picture. And then we go to picture again, and now we'll scale it. And we'll type 128 in one of these boxes, then the other one gets this value as well. If it doesn't get it, just type in 128 as well. Then you click scale down here. And now we see that our picture has gotten much smaller, and that's exactly the right size for rEFInd. And then we go to File, Export as, OS Win8. Now it gets stored into the documents. I think I'll store it inside the pictures folder. And I'll just call it os18.png. And I export it. And then the next thing we do is we go back to Firefox again. And now we search for Ubuntu Studio logo. Go to pictures, and we select a nice looking one as well. I'll take this one, original size. Then we say copy graphics again, go into GIMP, edit, insert as, new picture. And now we have this nice looking picture here as well, and we do basically exactly the same as we did just before. So we select everything around the logo we want to have, and then we go to this, then we press Ctrl-I in order to turn what we selected around, and then we take this square and take away everything which is written. Then we go to, then we press Ctrl copy, and then we go to edit, insert as, new picture. Then we go to picture again, up here, 190, and I want 190 here as well. Center, change size, then we go here, here, then we go to picture, scale picture, 128, scale, and then we go to file, export as, and we just call it OS Ubuntu Studio. If you have Ubuntu, just call it Ubuntu. But you should not need to create a new logo for Ubuntu, as there already is a nice one inside rEFInd for Ubuntu for the ordinary version. Then we just click export, and now we're done configuring the icons. Another thing we want to have inside rEFInd are backgrounds, because we'll need a nice looking background image as well, otherwise it'll just be very gray. And for that you need to find your image first, and my background image is inside my pictures folder as well. So now I go to my personal folder, select pictures. Then I have all these 3 pictures inside here. I have the Ubuntu Studio logo I just created, I have the Windows 8 logo I just created, and the background image I want to use. And then I just take all of these and type copy. Then we go back and back until we are inside the rEFInd folder again, and then we just paste all these pictures here, and then we move both of the logos inside the icons folder. And then we select the icons folder and press Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. And now we have copied it. You'll see later why it's good to copy it. Icons custom. So we just give it a new name and call it icons custom. That's important as well. And then we select the background image. Just make a right click on it, say open inside GIMP. Then GIMP comes up again. And we just need to change one little thing inside this picture. And this has something to do with the rEFInd configuration. And the thing is that rEFInd needs to know a background color for the bootloader. So when it has stopped booting the system, when you have pressed enter, then it'll show a background color. And usually it just takes the the pixel in the upper left corner of the background image. So I would recommend you to make this pixel black. This is what I'll do now as well, because then the bootloaders will always look nice. For example, if you have a normal bootloader from Linux showing some text, then it looks good if you have a black background. And if Windows 8 starts booting, you normally just see this little circle turn around, this white circle. And if you have another color than black, then all the background of the screen will be this other color. In this picture it would be green, if I had not colored this pixel already. And then it will be very ugly, because you'll just have a little black square with this white circle turning around, and the rest will be green. And that's very ugly, so I think it looks much nicer if you just have all the screen black, as it should be. So in order to color this pixel black, we select the pencil here. Then we select the brush, and we take this hard one. And then we type in for the size, we just type 1 and enter. And then the brush just has the size of 1 square. And if I click here now, then it'll be colored black. Just to show you, it really colors it black. Okay. And then when we have colored this pixel black, or whatever color you want, maybe you want for any reason another color, then you can just use another color. Then we are done, and then we can close GIMP here. And this here, it will always ask you if you want to save it once again. The reason is that GIMP has a special format where it can store everything, like your selection and all of the pictures you had opened and so on. But you just want to throw away these informations, as it's enough now just to have this background saved. And you see here it's there as well. And now we are done fixing the icons. We have the Ubuntu Studio icon here, we have the Windows 8 icon here, and the Windows 7 icon here. And we have also fixed the background. So now we can start configuring rEFInd.conf. And we just do that. We have already opened the file on the next screen, on the next desktop. and it's here we have opened graph.cfg as well. We'll not need graph.cfg now, we'll need it later, because we'll copy some information from that file to this one. Graph.cfg is the configuration file for Grub. As you have seen in the beginning, Grub is the default Ubuntu bootloader, and it's very ugly, but it has nice information which we'll use later, as I don't know how to get this information from other sources. Okay, now let's start configuring this file. So the first thing we do, we'll change this time here to 5. The default setting for rEFInd is that it reboots the last booted entry. And with this timeout, you can say how much time you want to give yourself to select if you want to boot another operating system or not. And for me, it was good with 5 seconds, because then I have 5 seconds to decide if I want to reboot into the same system which I have started the last time. So if I had started Windows 8 before and then restart, then I have this timeout: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I need to decide in these 5 seconds if I want to boot something else. Then I just click a key, and then this countdown disappears, and then I can decide if I want to reboot Windows 8 or Windows 7 or Ubuntu. And if I don't click anything in this 5 seconds, then it'll just reboot the last booted operating system. Okay, so as I said, I set this to 5 because I found this time very useful. Then we'll start configuring the surface of rEFInd, and maybe you remember how it looked on my computer, and I think it looks very nice like that. And this is also because I have made some options that rEFInd can show invisible, and we can do that by just typing hide UI, and then we just type all this Apple stuff. So we say hide UI single user, safe mode, HW test, and editor. All the other stuff is very useful, so we'll not hide it, but as we don't have an Apple computer, we don't need this Apple stuff. If you don't understand really why I change all these settings, then you can just change them as you want, because here it says very good what to do and how these settings work. And if you're not sure how to change a setting, you can just go to the rEFInd website. You'll find the link in the description, and then you find much information and help there as well. And I'm sure that you'll then be able to configure your bootloader just as you want to have it. And then we type icons directory, and we type icons directory, and we'll take just maybe you remember that we copied the icons folder to icons custom, and so we'll type for the icons directory icons custom. Then we need to define the background, and for the background we just type banner, then the name of the file. So now it is in the same folder as refind.conf, and because of that I just need to write the file's name. In my case it's background.png, so I'll type, as it's in the same folder as refind.conf, background.png. And we want to scale it to fill screen, and here it is very important that you select a picture as background which has the same aspect as your screen, because if you have a 4:3 screen and a 16:9 image, then it'll be scaled a little bit weird, and then it'll not look good. And So you should make sure that the background picture has the same aspect and around about the same resolution as your screen. Then the next setting we change is the use graphics for option, and that's a very nice option, as normally rEFInd shows some text in the upper left corner where it says how it booted the entry and which settings it used and so on. But I found it very ugly, so by using this use graphics for adapter, you just take away these options. And so we type use graphics for Linux, as we have installed Linux, Windows, and grub. And then we need to say which tools we want to be shown. rEFInd does also have some nice tools which you can use to fix your computer or do whatever. And there we just take some tools. So we type show tools, and we type shell, reboot, shut down, exit, and firmware. Then we go further down, and here we have the scan for parameter, and that's a very important one, because rEFInd can find other EFI bootloaders, so it will always search for other EFI bootloaders. Normally, you see this scan for option is internal, external, optical, and manual. So at first it'll search for bootloaders onto your system, then it'll find Windows 8, it'll find some different kernels, and for that reason different bootloaders for Ubuntu, and then it'll search for external USB drives, and then it'll search for optical drives. But as we want to add our entries ourselves and customize them in order to adapt them with our own icons and with just one entry per system and not 5 for Ubuntu, we'll just type scan for, and then we just type manual, external, and optical, so that you see your manual entries and the other external entries it has found, and the optical entries. So if it finds some external USB media or CD, you'll see that here, if it is bootable in EFI mode. Then we can just go further down, and now here we are already we can already start creating the entries for Windows 8 and Windows 7 and Ubuntu. And so the first custom entry we create is main new entry Windows 8, and what we type first is icon, and then we go to the file manager again, go into icons custom, and then we select the Windows 8 icon we created and press Ctrl and C. Then we go back to get it and paste it here. And now we see the path, the whole path to the icon, but we don't need the whole path but only the first bit, so we take away boot and the first EFI. Then we need to specify the OS type, and here it is Windows, so we just type OS type Windows, no, without quotes, Windows, and then we type loader EFI Microsoft bootmgfw.efi. If you remember, we had our Microsoft bootloaders in this Microsoft folder, boot, and here we have the Windows 8 bootloader, and here we have the Windows 7 bootloader. And now we have finished creating the Windows 8 boot menu entry. So now we'll create the one for Windows 7. As it's almost the same as the one for Windows 8, we just copy it and paste it. And then of course, we change the name to Windows 7. Then we change the icon's path, as we don't want to use the same icon as for Windows 8. So we just find our way back to the icons, and then we select the Windows 7 icon and copy it again and paste it, and then we take away the first part of the path again. And of course, we do also need to change inside the folder, we need to change boot into Windows 7 so that it doesn't boot the Windows 8 bootloader, but the one for Windows 7. And then the last thing we need to do is set up Ubuntu bootloader. So we type menu entry Ubuntu, and in my case it's Ubuntu Studio, so I'll just type Ubuntu Studio. Then we specify the icon again first. So we copy its path, take away the first bit, then we type volume, and now it's very important for this Ubuntu entry to work that the Ubuntu volume really has the right name, because as you remember, we have named the Ubuntu volume, you have named your Ubuntu volume Ubuntu, and I have named my volume Ubuntu Studio. And if these names should change on the Ubuntu partition or disappear, then you'll not be able to boot it inside rEFInd any longer. So for that reason, you should make sure that you always have these partition names right. And for that reason, I'll now type volume Ubuntu Studio. Then, of course, I do also need to write inside the brackets the path to the bootloader, and I can also type OS type Linux, and then I'll type the path to the bootloader. For that, we just use the information from grub, and inside this grub file we scroll down and down and down until we get the first entry inside boot. You'll see that just by recognizing menu entry, and then you'll see it, and you'll see the end of the parenthesis. And in Ubuntu Studio, I'd recommend you to use the low latency entry. In ordinary Ubuntu, you'll not have this low latency entry, but in Ubuntu Studio, you should use that one. And then inside this entry, which is this part from this open curly bracket to this closing curly bracket, we select the last two lines and just copy them by pressing Ctrl and C. Then we go back to refind.conf and just paste these two lines. And then we replace this Linux in the beginning by loader. And then we see that loader works fine because that's the path to the Ubuntu kernel. And then when the first space character comes, you just press del in order to get it away, and then you press enter. And then we type options, then we set quotes at the beginning and at the end of the line. With this we get the kernel options all in this line, and that's very nice because this line I could have found out myself, and this line as well. But these kernel options I think are very difficult to find out correctly. And if we just copy them from grub, then we know that they'll work fine. If you have another Linux you want to install, you can just copy these options from a grub configuration file as well. It'll work very good, as grub knows which options it needs to use. And the last line here we can just leave like it is. Initted ROM disk, yeah, and then we have the right path. And now, really, we are done configuring rEFInd, because we have created all the entries and adapted the file. So everything's done, and now you can just reboot your computer and enjoy your new start menu and try if everything works as it should. So you just save the rEFInd file, and then you close everything, and then you can restart. Thank you very much for watching this series of tutorials showing you how to install Windows 7 besides a pre-installed Windows 8. And I hope you really enjoyed it, and everything works, and maybe we'll see each other again when I make another tutorial.